24 win over the Aggies, the first in program history. And then I know Shane Beamer and co will have already turned the page to Missouri, which we will do tomorrow. So if you guys have any more residual thoughts from the Carolina-Texas A&M game, today is your last day to get those thoughts in on the text line, on the Love Chevy phone line, on Twitter, however you guys want to be a part of the show. Before we dig in and I get some of Wes and Chris's residual thoughts from the game, I want to give you guys a chance to win some money.
It's time for your chance to win $100 and qualify for the $25,000 grand prize in our $25,000 signing bonus contest. Just text the following national keyword to 95819. Your national keyword to text is
check. CZECH. No, but all these homophones, man, it's just regular check. Just check. Come on.
Text that national keyword to 95819. Standard text messaging rates may apply. Please don't text and drive. The $25,000 signing bonus contest on 107.5 The Game.
Wes, Chris, how's it going?
What's going on?
Happy Tuesday. You doing all right?
Tuesday. Good. Very good.
Good. Do y'all usually rewatch the game Sunday or yesterday or today?
For me, it entirely depends on like what time the game was, and a lot of times it depends on if it was a home game. At least for me, it ends up being later because there's recruiting stuff normally on Sunday. Look, Chris handled like 85% of the recruiting stuff this time. I had family stuff going on, but normally I try to go ahead and get it over with on that Sunday, but it doesn't always work like that.
I wish I could give you some great, like, make myself look good by being like, well, here's my routine. I go in. No, I do not have one. So
I listened to Dan Orlovsky do that. He was talking about his schedule because that dude's about the busiest person on the planet.
Yeah.
And he's like, wake up at 5 o'clock every morning, 4:30 on Mondays. Take a shower. I watch 3 games in the limo on the way over to the studio, and it's just like, dude's just grinding tape constantly.
We also had somebody driving him to the studio.
that does help.
If I was watching the game, coming to the studio, I would get arrested.
Yeah.
So, because
unless there's like something that I'm dying to watch again, I can't do it on Sunday. I'm like, I just watched this. I don't want to watch this again. Plus, I'm watching NFL most of the day anyway, so it's usually Monday for me.
Mine is normally, even for road games, is normally on Monday.
Yeah.
Sunday, other stuff going on or whatever, and so normally I'm finishing up on Monday, and then I try to watch the next team that South Carolina is going to play Wednesday, finish up Thursday.
But
go ahead.
I was going to say, I feel so much better about my life if I go ahead and have like knocked it out on Sunday because I feel a little ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, the only game that I've watched on Sunday was Georgia State. 1, because there were no NFL games, and 2, because like the first couple games of the season, I try to pay a really close attention to personnel groupings, just like patterns, substitutions, things like that. And so I spend more time probably on those first couple games than the rest of them. I guess all this is setting up to say y'all have both broken down the tape, and you come into the studio feeling dramatically differently about your interpretation of the action Saturday night.
I would not say that.
Not really.
I know you said that tongue in cheek. I would not say that though. So is it leftover take time? Are we getting the leftovers out of the fridge?
Leftover take. Anyone that you feel like deserves a little more credit than we gave Saturday, or a little more blame, or just anything else that stuck out maybe that you didn't catch the first time.
Let me go super big picture, as I know we're trying to drill down a little bit more is the point. And I won't spend a lot of time on this. It kind of struck me this morning. It is our job to break down like all the good and bad aspects of the game and why did this happen and what do we think of this? And that's good. We should do that, win or loss, every single game. It did strike me, though, that I'm going back to what Beamer said with, like, find some joy. Like, Gamecock fans need to enjoy this. And I know Heath talked a lot about this on his show. I got to catch some of it yesterday afternoon. He made some great points, I thought. Heath Klein did. Enjoy this. You're 5-2. You have a great opportunity to get bowl eligible. You just beat a team you haven't beaten in 8 years. You just beat Kentucky before that. That was a lot of fun. You did that back-to-back. You've won 4 straight games. You're playing better markedly than you were early in the season. The outlook's different. And I don't think last season, had a lot of highs and a lot of lows, very lows. That wasn't that long ago. And it wasn't that long ago that there was a 2-win COVID season for South Carolina. So enjoy it. Like, it's okay for us to talk about, yes, the offense could do this better, or this could be better on the team overall, or talk about the overall outlook. But I do get a sense that, like, there's been a lot of complaining for a team that is now 5-2 and has won 4 straight and just did what it did. So I think it's important to keep that perspective. That's difficult sometimes. That's a big picture thought. I've got more from the game, but I wanted to make sure I got that in there.
I think that's fair. I would also say, at least for me, and I said this earlier, because somebody called in and was expressing some fair criticisms of what happened on Saturday. And I was like, yeah, and I was like, but it's your job as the fan to enjoy. Like, it's my job to sit up here and be like, well, blah 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 blah. Like, it's your job to just like have a great week and just like, I mean, look, you're a fan, you can do whatever you want, but it doesn't. That doesn't help you to kind of tie yourself into knots over the things that could have been. But I said this to you off the air earlier. I think to me it speaks almost more to a confidence, which is weird because you're complaining and it's like, well, blah blah blah. Like, I had somebody text me after the game and was like, that's like, it's a pretty weird feeling like you escaped when you had an opportunity to step on their throat and like really just crush them. And I think, again, like, it's worth evaluating why that didn't happen and what Carolina can do to make that happen in the future. But in general, it's like the fans think that the offense should be better, think that the defense should be better, which is good. A couple of years ago, Carolina fans were expecting to lose every game by 30 points because they basically did. Now, there is an it's like, oh my gosh, like, you see what Juice can do, and you see like Jalen Brooks getting open, and you see that Marshawn Lloyd's emerging as one of the better backs in the SEC. You see all these things, and it's like, why can't you just like score 45 points, in a game against the conference, something like that? That the fan base feels like that's possible, to me seems like it's leading to the frustration, and ultimately that's a better place to be than just expecting to lose every game by 30.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they've obviously added talent across the board on offense, and then of course brought back a bunch of guys on the offensive line. You have experience there, so yeah, it is much better to be having that conversation than just be feeling like, wow, there's no hope here for this offense. And last year, obviously there was still a lot of heat on Marcus Satterfield, but comparatively to what they have this year, it was going to be tough to generate much offensively. I feel like, and I look at this team, and I agree. I think it's a good thing that you have expectations. It's also a good thing to look back and say you just beat a team you've never beaten before without playing your best game. And I also think there's a little bit here of we get so caught up in offense and defense as being sort of what football is, and special teams is just sort of this third thing. A lot of times, unless you like really, really love football, maybe that's even when you're taking a trip to the kitchen or the bathroom or something, and you don't even watch the PAT or something like that. I think sometimes when South Carolina wins games like they did on Saturday, it almost gets we're almost a little too negative on it because we don't give credit to the fact that it is now we were talking yesterday about what's a trend. It is absolutely a trend that South Carolina has been really good on special teams for the last season and a half.
They've made a big special teams play in every game this season, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think even the Georgia game.
Yeah, you had the fake punt.
Yeah, you had the fake punt, which hit against Georgia. So I think it's worth pointing out that South Carolina, maybe most games, doesn't have to be quite as good in the other areas because they have put in the effort and they have the right guy running their special teams.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to a former player the other day, and they even kind of acknowledged, hey, lots of coaches do give you oh yeah, special teams is a third of the game. And they're like, oh, we spent 10 minutes on punt team a week, basically. So this was, a player under a different staff. So I think worth mentioning that these special teams are here to stay, and they set a tone, not just for this game, but really for this entire season.
And I think most people feel like big special teams plays are fluky.
Yes.
Because most teams don't emphasize it that much. So if you have a kick return, it's like, oh, that's just because Debo's awesome. It's not because your special teams are great. But this is one of the rare cases, like everywhere in the country, not just rare for the SEC, rare cases where this is sustainable. Typically, special teams performance is a little more random. It's not as sustainable. It absolutely is for South Carolina. It was 2 block punts in the first game. It was was there one in the Arkansas game? Do anything on special teams? Maybe that's the one.
Yep.
But really, I mean, it's like Spencer Rattler hasn't even had a touchdown pass in every game. So it's like when you talk about special teams being like that consistent that you're really splitting hairs to like every single game, they make a play in every single game. Block punt, kick return, fake punt, hitting all their field goals. What's weird is they've had more issues with their extra points this year than their field goals. I'm sure Pete Limbo's not happy about that, but that is a really good point because it is sustainable for South Carolina.
Yeah, it is, and I think we've seen the realization of Beamer comes in, you think, well, there's going to be an emphasis on special teams, but let's be honest, we don't know. I never would have predicted that it was going to make this big of an impact because it really is pretty rare. So I think it's fun for the fans though. Like those things, if you block a punt, if you return a kickoff for a touchdown, because you're not used to seeing it, maybe we should all get used to seeing it with this group. But because you're not used to seeing it, I feel like it provides an extra jolt to the crowd, and it is so deflating to your opponent because your opponents even sometimes look at it like, oh yeah, we're going to win this game on offense or defense. And then when you essentially, from their perspective, steal a touchdown to start the game or steal a possession because of a block punt, I mean, it turned the Georgia State game even. So I think.
Well, you even talked about the way that the fans treat special teams. It's you go to the bathroom early, you get a head start on some snacks, you flip over and see another game. Coaches and players feel that way too. Special teams is largely perfunctory. It's like, all right, snap it. You're not going to rush the punter that hard. The punter's going to kick it. The returner's going to, fair catch it. Here's a touchback. Here's an extra point. Like for most people, it's an opportunity to take a play off. When you're playing against South Carolina, you don't get those plays off because you have to be on and you have to be focused on special teams. And that's typically not an opportunity to reset. And it's not like, oh, there's extra 4 plays of focus or why you lost the game, but it's just an added element of stress that you're putting on the other team that's unusual to prepare for in modern college football.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that you can credit, Shane Beamer and his staff for is how they've gotten the players to buy into special teams. I mean, I say this way too often, but every coach is going to get up in a press conference and talk about how important special teams is. And, in reality, it's not because they don't devote a lot of time to it. It's not like an integral part of what they're doing. And it kind of reflects on the field. They just aren't very good on special teams. South Carolina is, whether it's the small things or the bigger things. And like I look at Xavier Legette's touchdown. I mean, here's a guy who had a really poor game against SC State. The coaches, still believe in him and instill that confidence in him to put him back there as the return guy. You look at DeCarrion Joyner out there blocking, Trey Kenyon out there blocking. You look at Rashad Amos, who hasn't gotten hardly any opportunities at running back. He's out there blocking. The guys are playing hard. Zach Pickens, who's an NFL guy, watching him on, trying to block extra points out there. Like they really, the South Carolina players enjoy special teams and have fully bought into it.
803-404-6100. A couple big picture takeaways. Any other big picture takeaways that you did not get to yesterday? We would love to hear from you guys in the Love Chevy phone line or the text line. However you want to be a part of the show on a Brain Dump Tuesday, you can let us know on Twitter as well, at Pearson Fowler, at Wes Mitchell GC, at GC Chris Clark. Chris, I know, has a few more granular observations from the game Saturday we'd like to dig into. I'm sure Wes has some too. So we'll continue unpacking Carolina, Texas A&M next.
The early game with Bill Gunter and Jen Jensen.
Aside from you bragging that you picked the winner, I don't know if we mentioned who actually won the race or what it meant for the actual playoffs. We more discussed the fight.
Yeah. And that's why it would have been more block game material.
All right. That's why she's the producer and I just sit here in my little
yeah. I don't ever make a producer. Just go with the flow.
You're a wise man.
The fight back and forth over the mic would probably not be what people want to hear.
On your home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game.
This is Damon Amendolara with your CBS Sports Minute. This is not the Patriots that we used to know. The Bears were every team of poor saps over the last 20 years who would quietly shuffle into Foxborough just to get their butts handed to them. A 33-14 Bears win? Debating Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi? This is Damon Amendolara.
2000, 2008, 2022. When it comes to the economy, those are some scary years. .com crash, housing crash, and the roller coaster we're going through right now. It's a dangerous time to not know your numbers. But over 31,000 businesses have the confidence and clarity they need because they rely on NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 cloud financial system. NetSuite gives you visibility and control of financials, inventory, HR, planning, and budgeting. Manage risk, get reliable forecasts, improve margins. Everything you need all in one place. So, how do you prepare for uncertain times? The answer, NetSuite. NetSuite helps you identify rising costs, automate your business processes, and easily see where to save money. That's why 93% of customers say they improved their visibility and control when they upgraded to NetSuite. What are you waiting for? NetSuite is offering a one-of-a-kind flexible financing program. Head to netsuite.com/play. netsuite.com/play.
At the Samuels Reynolds Law Firm, we've seen how terrible accidents turn lives upside down, and we're proud to be the lawyers our clients depend on during their toughest moments. I'm Jason Reynolds. Call me when your family is faced with any serious injury or death.
And I'm Stephen Samuels. When you're hurt at work, I go to work getting you the medical treatment and workers' compensation you depend on. We have the experience and passion you need when you need it most.
Samuels Reynolds. True injuries, true lawyers. 779-4000.
Hey guys, it's me, wrestling legend Ric Flair, and I'm on a mission to help millions of guys put more flair down there with Mount Everest. Unlike generic ED treatment programs that can take up to 60 minutes to work, Mount Everest can have you standing at attention in as little as 5 minutes. You'll have an absolutely mind-blowing experience every time. That's because only Mount Everest offers a unique 3-in-1 custom compounded medication. Mount Everest will make you a kiss-stealing, wheeling-dealing son of a gun like me every night. Don't lose another night to ED. Put some flair down there with Mount Everest. Woo!
See if Mount Everest is right for you. Go to joinnuimage.com now and use promo code RADIO to save 20%. That's join, the letters NU, image.com and use promo code RADIO to save 20%. Go to joinnuimage.com and save 20% with promo code RADIO.
It's time for fall football in the South. Imagine watching the game from your stone paver patio, sitting around a cozy fire. Carolina Fresh Farms has everything you need to create the best outdoor space in the neighborhood. Natural stone, pavers, fire pits, outdoor fireplaces, and all the tools and supplies for your project. With 7 locations in South Carolina, visit their website at carolinafreshfarms.com to find the location nearest you. Carolina Fresh Farms, your landscaping supply specialists. Go Gamecocks!
Can I get the sales projections for the Springfield, Bristol, and Fairview stores?
Val's Froyo Palace is dishing out 3 more locations.
Jody, have you lined up interviews?
They need 3 new store managers before they have a meltdown.
And remember, they need at least 5 years experience.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
It's a new day because COVID vaccines just got a big update. So all the big stuff coming up this fall? Well, now you can say, you bet I'll be there. Because updated COVID vaccines protect against both the original COVID virus and Omicron. And everyone 5 and older can get one. So this is a moment we've all been waiting for.
Find updated COVID vaccines at vaccines.gov. We can do this. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, founded by firemen with Pearson Fowler, Chris Clark, and Wes Mitchell on the home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game.
11:21 Tuesday morning, and welcome back into the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. Pearson, Wes, Chris here with you in the Herndon Chevy studios of 107.5 The Game, talking Carolina A&M. Shane Beamer weekly press conference coming up a little bit later. 4 straight for Carolina, trying to make it 5 straight and bowl eligible over Missouri. We'll start to talk about the Tigers tomorrow, and we'll hear some of Shane Beamer's preview as well as some players' preview of Missouri coming up a little bit later on this afternoon. We'll get back into some Carolina, Texas A&M thoughts. Let me get to 2 quick texts here in the text line. Unnamed texter says we should be saying Carolina's 4-2 and stop all the complaining and overanalyzing. So I'm just curious, like what that was. It's kind of a general takeaway, but I'm wondering what people think that would sound like as a 3-hour talk show.
Pretty boring, and also they're 5-2. So, texter.
Oh, what'd I say?
4-2.
4-2. That was just my. He typed 5. I said 4 for some reason.
Okay.
I don't know why.
I wanted to blame the texter.
Yeah, you can blame the texter. And as far as the Arkansas game, Carolina did recover an onside kick in that game. So,
Indeed.
Ding for another unnamed texter. But, yeah, so block punts against Georgia State.
Devil's advocate, I think they had like 3 tries in the Arkansas game too.
They did,
right?
Yeah, they did. They got 1 of 3,
one.
which
But
33%.
One of 3 is a better percentage than.
I think I
normal.
saw the percentage. There was an onside kick in an NFL game one time, probably. And they showed a percentage of
It's like 10% or something.
it was like 0.0008 or something. It was ridiculous.
What?
Not really, but I really think it might have been like a percent. It was ridiculous. Yeah. It's funny. So as good as the special teams were, and as important as they were in getting the win for South Carolina, not recovering the onside kick and missing the PAT were 2 huge moments down the stretch in that game.
And Limbo is probably pointing to those all week long versus the great things.
Well, yeah, he's listening to everyone talk about how great the special teams were on Saturday, and he's like, "You kidding me? They missed up a PAT and didn't get the onside." Which, by the way, and Preston and I talked about this yesterday, but that is like just the most perfect onside kick.
Oh, yeah,
where you have that guy in conflict. Like if XL jumps on the ball, that's not what you're supposed to do because it might just like squirt out. You never want to field it like as soon as it's bouncing on the ground and
it
goes over you.
Sometimes, this is very rare on an onside kick, but sometimes in sports, you kind of just got to tip your hat, I feel like. And that was a perfectly executed. A lot of times guys can't get the high bounce anymore. And his had the roll than the high bounce, which you're looking for. Yeah, man, that was impressive. That was probably one of the better onside kicks I've ever seen.
Yeah. Do y'all know, because Pete will occasionally join Marcus and Clayton in the coordinator availability, but not every week. Do y'all know if he's going to be available tomorrow? Have y'all seen yet?
I have not.
Okay. I'm just going to hope that he is because he's got a lot to talk about, and I want to hear his takes.
He always does.
He always does. Even if there's nothing going on, he will. 803-404-6100. I want to get back to some of Wes and Chris's observations from the game, but we'll go out to the Love Chevy phone line first and hear from Joe. What's up, Joe?
What's up, fellas? Enjoy the show.
What's up, Joe?
Hey, man. Not much. Yeah, that onside kick, man. I bet Beamer had them in the film room the next day looking at that because that was that's exactly how you want to attempt it every time. That was nerve-wracking to say the least. But another thing on that drive before, I don't know if y'all noticed, Jimbo at one point, man, he let a lot of time run off the clock without using one of those timeouts, which was nice for us. But that's not what I called about. I called about just kind of the learning process of winning. Every team, I don't care if you're Georgia, Alabama, every team goes into the season having established some kind of chemistry. And I think we're starting to get that identity now on offense. But it's easy to forget Shane Beamer's only coached in 20 games as a head coach. And these guys, we haven't won a lot around here. I mean, the guys that are juniors and seniors on this team haven't hardly won at all. So I think it's, patience is because it's definitely a learning process to win. I mean, and we've done a really good job in the close games we've been in, but that was a little more than I wanted. But if we keep heading down this road, I think we'll be fine. I just think we have to remind everybody that, no matter what team, I mean, programs that are established, obviously, that's kind of built in. Winning's kind of built into that, and you learn to put teams away and that kind of thing. But we're still learning those things, and there's a lot that goes into that. That's the beauty of sports is every game's different. But as it goes on, you get in those similar moments of down 3, up 3, and that kind of thing. So just want to hear you guys' thoughts on that, man. Enjoy the show. Y'all have a good week.
Really appreciate the call, Joe, and a really good point. And honestly, more than offense, more than defense, more than special teams, that Carolina has been able to win 2 close games on the back of late offensive drives and defensive stops against teams that have historically had Carolina's number, especially in those kinds of games, is the biggest reason that beating Kentucky and Texas A. Like getting to 5 wins is great. But you're exactly right. Learning how to win and learning how to win those kinds of games on the road, at home, in the conference, that's it.
We've talked about this, but I think this goes back to the point of being able to go out there and perform during a night game at Williams-Brice Stadium where, sure, this game wasn't like for the SEC East. This wasn't like national, aspirations here. But as far as these guys, this group, this team, Beamer's roster, it was a huge game feel. And I think we have seen, we talked about it over and over. We don't have to go back to it, but we've seen over the last 5, 6, 7 years, South Carolina go out there against beatable teams. And it's one of those things where you can just feel it in the stadium that the fans are ready. Like they want to will their team to victory. And sometimes, especially in the Muschamp era, it didn't feel like South Carolina was necessarily the worst team roster wise. It was just they did not perform in those moments. So for me, it's to go out there in that moment, stay even kill enough that you do thrive off of that environment, but you don't lose your head. Played well, obviously started fast, but then, I thought the final sort of drive, the final scoring drive for the offense, when they really needed it, like you could feel that early lead had all but evaporated. It felt like if A&M got the ball back there, still only down 3, that it might be that Carolina was about to get their heart broken. And, maybe it doesn't play out like that, but you'd much rather be the aggressor, go down there, score again. This is when they made it, 30-21 is the drive I'm talking about. And you always want for your offense to do that as opposed to having to put it on your defense several times down the stretch. And I thought they started the game. The way they started the game, I should say, was a step forward, and the way they ended the game, even there's a little kind of hold your breath moment there, was something to build on as well.
And that drive that Wes is referencing is an 8-play, 80-yard drive, and you run the ball 7 times. And
Took over 5 minutes off the clock.
Yep. And you have a 21-yard, pass to Josh Vann. But other than that, you ran the ball the other 7 times. So, I mean, again, we can take that and we could say, well, why didn't they do that earlier in the game and blah, blah, blah. They did it when it counted, which is a lot more than we've seen in the past, right? The last few games against A&M is about 100-point deficit combined. And then some of these other games, like we talked in the lead up to this game about the 2017 Kentucky game or pick a Florida game, several years ago. There was more than one where they would get a lead and blow it, right? You start fast and then you blow it. They did not do that. And so that, to me is a step in the right direction here.
I think so. I want to come back. The idea of learning how to win is interesting. And I wonder if the seeds, or rather the breadcrumbs, had been laid for this already. And now the team's just starting to, or maybe it's just me starting to wise up to it. Maybe the team is really tapping into something here. But I think that's an interesting idea. So I appreciate the call, Joe. 803-404-6100. We'll get into a few more thoughts on Carolina, Texas A&M, the idea of learning how to win. And I'll get Wes and Chris's thoughts on what was a big recruiting weekend for South Carolina next.
More of the Extra Point coming up next on 107.5 The Game.
It's all over the news. Interest rates are rising, but not everywhere. Galliana Chrysler Jeep on Greystone is offering 0 down and 3.9% financing for 84 months on new Jeep Renegades. And unlike other dealerships, Galliana Chrysler Jeep on Greystone is selling new vehicles below MSRP. Plus, we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. And we'll give you exactly what your trade is worth down to the penny. Don't forget, you can still custom order the exact Jeep you want for just $1 down and $1,000 below MSRP. Upgrade to a new Jeep today. today with 0 down and 3.9% financing for 84 months during Jeep Adventure Days at Galliana Chrysler Jeep on Greystone. I-126 Zoo Exit in Columbia. Call 779-7300 or GallianaSC.com. New Renegade stock number 28512. 1362 per month per thousand borrowed for 84 months at 3.9% APR with 0 down. Negative trade equity financed to new loans subject to lender approval. Offers don't combine. Expires month end.
Enjoy Gamecock football Saturday at Columbia Craft Brewing Company on Green Street. Whether the game is home or away, Columbia Craft can be your tailgate headquarters. Bring your own food, no beverages please, or grab something tasty from the lineup of local food trucks and enjoy with any of Columbia Craft brews. Locally owned and operated, the enthusiasm Columbia Craft drinkers have for game days is awesome. Join them each Saturday to experience a new kind of tailgate. Columbia Craft is proudly distributed throughout the Midlands by KW Beverage. Looking to try some of the brews handcrafted in Columbia? Go to kwbeverage.com and hit the product hunter to find locations.
Zero Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning, the most trusted and reviewed cleaning company in town. Take advantage of their fall sale going on now. Get 3 rooms of carpet clean for only $119 when you mention me, Bill Gunner at 1075 The Game. Easily schedule your cleaning online at ZeroResColumbia.com.
This message is brought to you by Discover. Did you know you could reduce the number of unwanted calls and emails with online privacy protection? The latest innovation from Discover. Discover will help regularly remove your personal information like your name and address from 10 popular people search websites that could sell your data. And they'll do it for free. Activate in the Discover app. See terms and learn more at discover.com/online privacy protection. That's discover.com/online privacy protection. Energy is something we have less of as we get older, and that's why I take M-Drive supplements for driven guys with clinically tested ingredients for healthy T levels and the drive to get things done. M-Drive can help you stay motivated and energized. And now you can try M-Drive for only $5. Text Dan to 55,000. Claim your offer. M-Drive. Text Dan 55,000. Get your first order, $5. Accomplish more with M-Drive. Message and data rates may apply.
At Camden Military Academy, cadets achieve their untapped potential in academics and life. Hear now one cadet's message to his parents.
Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad. I think what I really want to say is this place saved our family. Me coming here saved our family. We were in a very bad spot before, but I feel like you guys should have done this sooner, to be honest. But I love you. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
To learn more, visit CamdenMilitary.com.
For appliances with Reliances, that's Jeffers McGill.
Come see the entire line of Whirlpool appliances at 1421 Atlas Road. Whirlpool offers bigger, better, and more efficient appliances. And Jeffers McGill offers the best in customer service and low prices. Jeffers McGill and Whirlpool, your home team.
For appliances with Reliances, that's Jeffers McGill.
This football season and every football season, come to campus and catch a game. Whatever the game, whoever you're with, just catch a game. Find your tickets online at GamecocksOnline.com.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required. Refund available for 60 days after purchase.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. You'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the biggest brands at 90% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but 90% cheaper. It's the same medication you get from your doctor, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. Results are guaranteed or your money back. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, founded by firemen with Pearson Fowler, Chris Clark, and Wes Mitchell on the home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game.
$11:35 Tuesday morning. Welcome back into the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour here on 107.5 The Game. Pearson, Wes, Chris here with you, talking Carolina, Texas A&M, sort of residual thoughts. Haven't had a chance to get too granular. And actually, this is funny. I'm just now seeing this text also from an unnamed texter. A critical moment that we talked about off the air yesterday. I haven't seen as many people, or at least we haven't had as much feedback on the show, on the text line, on the phone line to this effect. Y'all don't even have the text line open, but you know exactly what this text is.
Yes, I've been wanting to talk about this.
How do you know? You don't even know what the text is.
The text is about the end of game decision to go for it on 4th and short instead of kicking the field goal.
Thoughts on Beamer's decision to forego the chip shot field goal late and go for it on 4th down? Great job, Wes.
I've been wanting to talk about this for real.
What do you think?
So I actually texted Will Helms and I was like, can you give me an analytics answer on this just so I can make sure I'm not completely off? And the analytics, first of all, whether you believe in them or not, I think they're a good guide. The analytics say it is quite literally a toss-up. So at the point that South Carolina makes that decision, it is a 99% chance that they're going to win the game, whether they kick it or whether they go for it. That's not until you get to the two outcomes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you make the field goal, here's where it gets interesting. If you make the field goal, the percentage is still 99 point whatever. I'm sure it goes up a little bit
because they'll get the ball back.
Exactly. If you make the first down, the percentage goes up to essentially 100%.
Yeah.
The analytics had South Carolina's chances of making the first down at like 66% on that 4th and 1. And I don't know how deep that goes into the two teams and their success. I don't know. I personally, if it's a coin toss anyway, as far as which one you should do, I like being aggressive. I like the message it sends. Like, guys, we can get 1 yard and put this whole thing to bed and it's over with. Somebody even made a pretty good point. Jimbo didn't even call the timeout on the first set of these downs.
Yeah.
So it almost felt like he waved the flag. Generally, that's a sign of like, all right, if you're not, they had all their timeouts when this drive started. That's almost like you waved the flag. So
when he did start calling the timeouts, I think he didn't call the timeout on the first down play. He called it on the second and third, and I guess was trying to save one for the offense, maybe.
Well, he called it on
after the second down,
and then on third was when Marshawn went out of bounds.
Yes,
and you think he has the first down. From my angle, it looked like he had it. I guess he didn't. I wonder if he thought he had it. I don't think he would have
sauntered out of bounds.
Yeah, I don't think he would have even gone out of bounds if he didn't think he had the first down.
Actually, sorry to interrupt, but we just got that from Michael. Says A&M never should have had the ball anyway. Marshawn Lloyd got robbed on that third down spot. But continue.
So it was such a weird sequence anyway. But if you there were people on our Facebook arguing. They were like, if you kick the field goal, you're up 2 scores. Well, you're already up 2 scores. Now, if you kick the field goal, you force them to score 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But they took over with 1 minute and 6 seconds left. So really scoring a touchdown, a field goal, and getting the onside is such a long shot, even at that point. Like Carolina's chances even not making the 4th down, I think you're still at 98% or 99% of winning the game. So really, the interesting thing about it, I know I'm going on and on here, is that some people were sending their opinions like, that's the worst call I've seen all season, which is insane to me. If anything, it's a toss-up that you could argue either way. And Carolina just had a PAT blocked, and they've had bad snaps on PATs and field goals this season. The only thing that loses the game for you, in my opinion, is if it gets blocked and returned, and then you have a quick score.
Yeah.
So I had no problem with that. My only problem is you probably went into prevent a little too early on defense, as well as you have played at stopping the big plays to that point in the game
and getting after the passer. Yeah, just analytic. I love that you have the analytics. That's very, I think, helpful and instructive. But just like, you play to win the game. I don't have that as a sounder, but I could equally make the case that that's one of the best calls that Shane Beamer has made this year. Don't give the other team the ball. Play aggressive. Play to win, not to lose. And a field goal is playing not to lose.
And even using hindsight, so A&M, we know now that they at least have the ability to successfully execute an onside kick,
Yeah.
right? So let's say they block that, they run it back. They almost ran the PAT back. That would have been 2 points. This would have been 6 and then 7 probably, right? Then you're giving them the ball back under that. It is a worst case scenario. You're giving them the ball back after having just scored. Now they're down 2. Now they have a chance to execute an onside kick, get the ball back, only need a field goal, and have 2 timeouts. That's a really bad scenario. They're at the 6-yard line. If you get even 1 yard, the game is over. If you kick a field goal there and you get it, it's not a 3-score game. It's still a 2-score game. Now you're having to kick to maybe
To
Devin
A-Chain.
A-Chain. Okay. I know that there was one that was short, maybe by design, but let's say he's trying to put it in the end zone, and let's say he kicks it to A-Chain and he runs it back for a touchdown. Oops. Or they have a really good return. Or even if they get it at the 25 on a touchback, that's a difference in yardage. It's 19 yards. So I think it was the right call.
I think so too. JB hits us in the text line, says, always take the points. And JB, to that, I say that's why Will Muschamp kicked a field goal down 30-3 against Texas A&M.
Always take the points is not a mantra to live by.
Nope.
Ever.
That's okay. That's okay. JB, you're entitled to your opinion. Appreciate the
We still
text.
love you, JB. but-
Yeah. I don't know who JB is. I just wouldn't want him making those decisions for my football team. All right. One more text here. One more tweet that I think is worth mentioning as we continue to give shout outs, plaudits and criticisms. Before we get to that, though, Wes, we talked about it yesterday with buy or sell, but Wes likes to remind everybody who to call if they need a realtor.
Yes, call my friend Kendall Walsh with the Moore Company, 803-414-3590. Work with Walsh at Gmail, at Work with Walsh on Twitter, Instagram. Give her a follow right now. Kendall, big Gamecock fan, big fan of the show as well, and she can help you the same way she helped me and my fiance get into a house. She also helped my future mother-in-law sell a house. So both sides of that can be kind of difficult to navigate right now. But Kendall was awesome for us. She can be the same for you. 803-414-3590. Again, the Moore Company. And that is a no obligation phone call for those who have not bought a house before. There's no upfront cost or anything like that. Just give Kendall a call if you kind of just on the fence and want to see what your options are. She can help walk you through that.
Jason hits us on Twitter, says maybe the biggest part of the game overall, the defense held A&M to field goals early in the game, keeping the momentum on Carolina's side. Either one of those drives goes for a touchdown in the game very easily could have changed. When you told me how many plays Carolina's defense was on the field, what was it, 80 or 79?
I think it was 80.
80, yep.
24 points allowed. 10 of those were short fields off Carolina turnovers deep in their own territory. To be on the field for 80 plays, to be consistently getting the pressure they got, to have contained Devon A-Chain. I get that this is a bad Texas A&M offense. Even with that in mind, considering all the circumstances, this might be the best defensive effort that Carolina's had this year. And it might not be close.
I think they followed the formula to a T of what they needed to do. South Carolina's defense isn't dominant enough where you're going to say, okay, it's just going to be a 3-and-out fest, but they needed to be able to get, contain A-Chain. He got some yards, sure. But he didn't have the 75-yard run. He had a 30-yard run was his longest. He had a 15-yard touchdown run. Aside from that, it was, I think, all single digits, and they were able to limit him. So they gave up some yards between the 20s, but they're able to get A&M into some third downs. Obviously, a huge turning point was being able to get, an interception of Haynes King, get the fumble and the miscommunication, get them behind the chains, which the crowd, can have an assist for that one. And they're able to get off the field, when it counted. Now, offensively, that limited South Carolina's possessions somewhat. Offensively, they had some disappointing moments. The most disappointing moments for me for the South Carolina offense was that they had 2 drives that were exactly one play in their own territory that resulted in a turnover. And as you said, 10 A&M points off that. If they don't have those plays, we're probably having a different conversation even about the offense. And so that's something they've got to correct going forward. But yeah, I thought it was a really strong defensive performance. Another game where they don't have a sack, but when you go and you actually watch the game, the defensive line played extremely well, I thought, and won that battle up front.
I cannot believe they didn't get a sack. I I haven't seen the number. I don't. Pro Football Focus probably has this. I'm guessing that Wegman and King got hit 20 times in that game on 80 plays.
They got hit hard.
They
too.
got
they were getting
crushed
smashed
several times. That was the best that the pass rush has looked. The pass rush looked more consistent on Saturday than it did the last game when they got 6 sacks, which is weird. I'm not going to say sacks don't matter, but Wes, you were making this point a couple of weeks ago that sacks are not the only metric of affecting the quarterback. I think Saturday was a great example. I hate it for the guys individually that they didn't get the sacks because they want the sacks, but I mean it was dominant up front for South Carolina. 803-404-6100. Appreciate that, Jason. Yeah, shout out again to the defense. It doesn't feel like it. 24 points, 400 yards, but you're on the field for 80 plays. The offense spots Texas A&M basically 10 points. I thought a really, really solid all-around effort from South Carolina defensively. Speaking of, I know it's going to be a big crowd on hand again this weekend for the Missouri game. It's a 4:00 kick, still at home though. And if you would like a chance to go, I don't know if it's sold out yet or approaching a sellout, but winning
it will
tickets,
be, I'm sure.
It might be either way. Winning tickets on the radio is more fun than having to pay for them. So if you want to win a pair of tickets to go see the Missouri game this weekend, just be caller number 5 right now. Call 803-404-6100, and I will give caller number 5 a pair of tickets to go see South Carolina and Missouri this weekend at Williams-Brice Stadium. 4:00 kick, 803-404-6100. Good luck.
More of the Extra Point coming up next on 107.5 The Game. High school coverage on 107.5 The Game is sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
You wash your hands, you brush your teeth, but what about the nose? How do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, flushing out allergens, mucus, and germs. And it's why cleaning your nose, the body's air filter, is the next evolution in daily personal hygiene. People try Navage for lots of reasons. Sinusitis, colds, allergies, snoring, things that make it hard to breathe through your nose. But over time, they find that cleaning their nose makes them feel better, a lot better. Over 3 million Navage users have written more than 100,000 reviews, averaging 4.7 stars, saying, best product I've ever used, and amazing, I love my Navage. Navage helps you breathe better, sleep deeper, and snore less, but the biggest payoff is improved health. Navage is good personal hygiene and can help you stay healthier. At Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
Attention! Did you or a loved one live at or near Marine Base Camp Lejeune in North Carolina between 1953 and 1987? If so, listen closely for this important legal announcement. From 1953 to 1987, Marines and their family members at Camp Lejeune drank water that was contaminated with hazardous toxins. The toxins found in the water at Camp Lejeune may cause health issues, especially later in life. Types of health issues associated with water at Camp Lejeune are numerous. If you or a loved one lived near Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1987, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation without going to court. Even if you were turned down in the past, a new law can allow you to file a claim today. If you or a loved one spent time near Camp Lejeune, call the Negligence Network to find out if you're eligible for financial compensation. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call 1-800-700-4333. That's 1-800-700-4333. 1-800-700-4333.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Wait. Tell me, where'd you get that money?
Oh, this? Oh, man. All this money came from 43money.com right online.
Are you saying you went to 43money.com and got all that money you needed fast?
Man, you know it. I went to 43money.com yesterday and bam, $5,000 was in my account today. Straight up.
Now, hold on. 43money.com helped you get $5,000 like that?
Yeah, man, that's right. 43money.com's lenders provide personal loans for up to $5,000 for people like you and me, even if you don't have good credit.
Man, I'm always short on cash. Can 43money.com help me get the money I need fast?
If you need extra money fast, go to 43money.com. Just have a checking account and a regular source of income. Go to 43money.com and you can get the loan you need now. Regardless of your credit, go to 43money.com to get the money you need fast. Type www.43money.com directly into the address bar. That's 43money.com. Again, 43money.com. 43money.com.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile.
It's
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. Presented by Firehouse Subs. Founded by firemen with Pearson Fowler, Chris Clark, and Wes Mitchell. On the home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
Don't forget our high school football scoreboard show every Friday night from 9 until midnight, right here on 107.5 The Game. Tommy Moody, Justin Hall bringing you all of the high school action from around the state of South Carolina. Scores, stats, post-game interviews with coaches. If you are a high school football fan, that is where you need to be glued every Friday night from 9 until midnight. We have it for you all season long right here on 107.5 The Game. Welcome back into the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour. Pearson, Wes, Chris here with you. A few more thoughts on Carolina, Texas A&M. I feel like I still have more thoughts on the game. Still things I want to get to. Maybe we'll let it spill over into Wednesday a little bit because there were a lot of things that stood out and were worth discussing about this game. But I have to spend a little bit of time here. Both of you have written about the big recruiting weekend that it was for South Carolina. Obviously, the atmosphere speaks for itself. The result certainly helped. And in fact, the other big recruiting weekend that Carolina had was the Georgia game, which could not have been a more different result on the field. Did you hear a dramatically different report from the recruits that were in the stands Saturday night?
The Georgia game still actually went well because they had a bunch of guys on, and we won't spend a lot of time on this point, but recruits don't only take into account, what happened during the game. Now, obviously, you will not be surprised to hear that the environment was better on Saturday night for a longer amount of time. It was a night game. South Carolina got off to a hot start. They led the game the entire time. And they finished the game. So from that standpoint, it was certainly a better experience. The visitor list was really impressive. I mean, you're talking about not only a bunch of the 2023 commitments, but some targets, including a couple from other SEC schools that they're looking at flipping from the 2023 class, but then into 2024, 2025, and beyond. I mean, for example, they had the nation's top safety out of Beaufort, Georgia, KJ Bolden, number 5 player in the entire country for that class. He was on campus. Multiple 4 stars, on the lines of scrimmage and all over the place. So reviews, which we're continuing to roll out this week on Gamecock Central, have been really positive overall. Whether it was the atmosphere, that was something that a lot of the prospects talked about, getting a chance to talk with the coaches. And then just what they think of the direction that Shane Beamer has the program going in.
Yeah, Chris, I think it's always interesting how you want to frame it up. And I would frame it up like this. Big picture, 2024 class, which is your juniors right now. This is when you're kind of setting the stage for those guys to consider you more, later on. Just a huge list of guys that are major prospects already. Then I think for 2023, which is seniors right now, you kind of want to focus on a few individuals. And for me, Khalifa Keith is a name South Carolina fans probably are going to want to know now. He's a running back from Birmingham, Parker High School, committed to Kentucky, but has seemed very open to hearing what other schools have to say, namely Tennessee and South Carolina. Jody Wright has some connections to that school. So South Carolina, I think, kind of likes where they are right now coming off of that visit. And then someone that Chris has written about quite a bit would be Terrence Love. Kind of like a Nick Emamori in that he's a little bit of a DB, but has the frame, could end up being a linebacker.
Kind of like Nick Emamori in that he's a freshman All-American.
Well, that would be the best case scenario there. But Chris, it has seemed like Terrence Love was already, I think, intrigued by South Carolina, but other schools are going to be looking at that Auburn commit list and trying to poach. So Terrence Love is probably the guy to keep an eye on there for South Carolina.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, let me ask you this, because, and you've made the point before that individual game results don't matter as much as everything else, relationships and fit and so many things that go into recruiting. But I said before the season started, Shane Beamer has done a fantastic job of parlaying early success and excitement into some early recruiting success, but the results are going to have to follow. Carolina's 5-2. They're probably going to be favored in their next 3 football games. So, this is where you put your money where your mouth is. Is that making an impact right away? Like were there guys that were maybe on the fence still for the class of 2023 that have seen Shane Beamer and co start to put some results together and are leaning more Carolina? And are they getting more conversations with 2024 guys than would have been expected at this point in time?
It's kind of a different conversation with those. I mean, 2024 this has been kind of consistent since Shane Beamer got hired. Sounds kind of crazy because that was a while back now. You always kind of pointed to the 24 class as saying that's the one where they'll have the longest runway because you remember, no summer camps when Beamer first got there, recruiting was shut down. You need a long time to illustrate progress in your program, build relationships. And so the 24 class has the potential. We don't know. There's only 2 guys committed right now. There's a lot of ball left to play this year. It has the potential to have the highest star power that we've seen under Shane Beamer. But they're going to have to close on some guys. I think a lot of those guys have been kind of on the hook, so to speak. And by that, I don't mean like there's 10 guys like almost ready to commit. They just have a lot of guys really interested. And so the progress that they made on the field, I do think is helping because when the coaches are telling them about it, they're actually illustrating it on the field. 23 class, is similar, even though their timeline has moved up. So someone like Khalifa Keith, if you were 2-5, do you have a chance at flipping him from Kentucky? I don't think the odds are as good at that. Terrence Love, same deal. He likes Auburn a lot, loves the atmosphere, but the coaching staff is in turmoil. If South Carolina's 2-5, do they have as good of a shot of getting him to campus, eventually luring him towards a flip? Probably not. So I do think the on-field results are certainly helping and the progress that they're showing in moving the program forward.
We all obviously do a great job covering that. Plenty more on Central, like you said, rolling out throughout the course of the week. So if you guys want more on the recruiting weekend for South Carolina and what the rest of the season holds, just check out Wes and Chris there on Gamecock Central. They'll be back tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow. Probably not talking any more A&M, maybe a few notes, but starting to turn the page, starting to look ahead to Missouri. Shane Beamer will start to preview them as well at his weekly press conference this afternoon, which we will have for you here on 107.5 The Game. But that is all we have time for Wes, for Chris. I am Pearson, and the halftime show is coming up next.